Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
You are now listening to Open Season. Your host, Billy Allen.
Good evening, everybody. Billy Allen, Frank Bradica, Alex Tordai, all here for Open Season. And tonight we'll be kicking around with a whole lot of NBA stuff. We've got a draft to cover, a couple picks there. Obviously, there was a switch up at the last second between who was going to go first. We all thought it was going to be Chet Holmgren, but that was not the case. Kyrie was non-committal to the Nets to the last minute. He didn't even let anybody know over there. They found out through Twitter, but he's back with the Nets. And so we'll be talking about that as well as getting into the NFL. Kyler Murray, would you sign this guy? Would you move on? A lot of expectations for the Cardinals. Adrian Peterson and Le'Veon Bell, that's right, are going to go at it in boxing in July. Yeah, you heard that one right. That's not the dumb sports thing of the week. But we'll be chopping up all that as we start out. Kyrie Irving apparently exhausted all of his options, and I don't know how excited people are for, obviously the Celtics. It's not too great news that'll be back, but Kyrie Irving will be back with the Nets. And we have Adrian Wojnarowski talking a little bit about that decision.
Best in the business, Adrian Wojnarowski is now joining us here. All right, Woj, what can you tell us about how Irving eventually decided to opt into his deal by exercising into his player option? George, essentially, Kyrie Irving had exhausted really his options to get the kind of long-term deal he wanted either elsewhere or in Brooklyn. Wasn't available to him in sign and trade. It wasn't available to him with the Nets. And so he takes that $36.5 million player option on his deal for the year and hits the reset button now next season, next summer in free agency. And listen, we see what happens here moving forward with the Nets.
And so there, you guys have it. Obviously, Kyrie Irving and the circus is going to be back for one more kick at the can. Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, we'll see how they all do. I think it's going to be another big mess. Guys, what do you think about it as Kyrie opts in to his player option here?
If Ben Simmons never gets any better, he still fits perfectly on court with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So I'm still very interested in seeing what that product looks like. But also, is Ben Simmons going to play again? I mean, isn't he in the middle of a lawsuit still? Is playing bad for that lawsuit? Is he going to wait? He's a head case. But I would like to see what the three of them on court and what an organization can do to build around those three pieces for a couple of years. But listen, he exhausted his options. Him, John Wall, and Russell Westbrook, they were always all going to opt in because they weren't getting that type of money in a long-term deal moving forward. But yeah, he was backed into this decision, and the Nets, I'm sure at this point, don't want him.
They definitely don't. I mean, how can you want a guy like Kyrie Irving on your team at this point unless you're LeBron? Unless you're you're in a situation where you're just one player away from a championship. And even then, we don't know if he's going to have a positive or negative effect on any given roster because Kyrie's completely unpredictable. And I think that they have the two biggest mental patients in the NBA on the same team in Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving. I mean, they're the two most unstable guys in the NBA. At this point, I don't think I'd want either of them touching the Celtics, for example. I just don't think I'd want them back, either one of them. I don't think I'd want Ben Simmons, and I definitely don't think I'd want Kyrie back. I just think he's got a toxicness to him that won't help win unless you're with someone like LeBron that knows how to control the Kyrie. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think nothing sums it up better than their relationship with Kyrie making the announcement and the Nets finding out through Twitter. You know, this guy can't even communicate with the team or anything like that. He calls himself a hero basically for taking this option. I mean, he is absolutely insane. And you got to figure it's incredible that, nobody's giving into these demands. I love it. They allowed him to try to find a trade partner. The Lakers were the only ones that were potentially in, and they said, no way in hell that the Nets said no way in hell that we're going to take Westbrook for Kyrie Irving. And so good for them for taking a stand. I just think it's going to be an absolute circus there. I don't see Kyrie winning another title. I really don't. I just think he's always said that he might retire a little bit early. I mean, I don't see him playing many more years of basketball. How much time do you guys think he has left? Do you think Kyrie is going to make a serious run? A lot of people have said even opting into this, he still might get traded because things are, still so hostile on both sides. What do you see happening next in the Kyrie saga?
I think he's going to stay. I mean, if you're the Nets, what do you get in return, right? Like, you're in the NBA, you're always going to get 70 cents on the dollar if you have the best player in the trade. But I just don't see what they'd bring in. I think if you're the Nets at this point, you have to prepare for the serious possibility that you don't have Kyrie or KD on your team next season. And you may want to start looking at what you can do, because I think they're both gone. And I think you could throw it all into this year, or you could deal with what comes after next.
Yeah, so and the Nets had a nice young nucleus there a few years ago that they completely destroyed. They sent Kenny Atkinson out of town. They got rid of all these pieces. Jarrett Allen, who's already contributing huge and got locked down by Cleveland. They couldn't sign him to a long-term deal fast enough. Like you just kind of talk about it, they might be looking at the possibility of not playing with either of these two guys next year, and they just blew up their entire team to do that. Get exactly back to square one. So it's like, how many teams does Kyrie have to leave in his wake? If you're the Lakers and you could get him for nothing, would you even be that interested in bringing in Kyrie?
Yes. What? Kyrie Irving on court was still very good last year. On court, Kyrie was still very good. He was bad in the playoffs, but he's been good.
How many games in is it until he wants his shots, or he's not showing up, or I feel like the NBA is finally taking a stance against Kyrie Irving to some degree. Like, we've never really seen it before where you could be this talented, not get on the court or field. I mean, we've seen Antonio Brown do it, be so crazy that he can't get on, but you'd figure that there would still be teams lusting after Kyrie. I'm kind of surprised that nobody stepped up to get him, honestly. Just with the way that teams are they need stars. You're not surprised that anybody stepped up to get him?
Price tag.
Or that 5 years ago that somebody wouldn't have done this?
Well, no, 5 years ago somebody would have, but it's at the $37 million price tag. That's what it is. There would have been, call it a half a dozen teams in the mix if that was $15 to $22 million. But it's not.
Yep, and Kyrie's not taking a pay cut.
No, he's not. And no team's giving up a first or future first for that level of instability. If it was about if that contract was 1 year, $15 million, the Clippers, a lot of teams would have been interested in Kyrie.
The Clippers would have been a good fit for Kyrie, actually.
They just got John Wall to the same effing deal. You know what I mean? So if Kyrie had been bought out, don't tell me they wouldn't have taken him before they took John Wall.
By the way, why is John Wall even going there? Is Reggie Jackson not on the same level at him at this point in their career?
No.
I mean, who's better at this point in their career?
There's no version of John Wall that is not better than Reggie Jackson.
Defensively,
this version that's played 40 games over the last few years? Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
They can play together, man. They can play alongside each other. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When you look at their backcourt, I mean, why not have John Wall and Reggie Jackson back there with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and everyone else they have? I mean, I don't hate it at all. Reggie Jackson isn't gone, right?
No.
Yeah, so
I feel like it's a good time to put in a bet on the Clippers, like a future bet. I mean, they might have a surprise good year bringing back all those players. They just signed Zubac to a decent 2 year deal. I mean, it's funny how much he's developed over the last couple of years. Like, he was playing 2 minutes a game a few years ago. I remember he'd literally start the game and then come out 3 minutes later, wouldn't even break a sweat. And now he's averaging double doubles. I mean, so he's put on some weight. He's taken a pretty big step over the last couple of years. So we'll see what they do. Let's see. Frankie, why don't you get us into this day in history? Because that's pretty NBA heavy as well.
All right, so I'll get the only non-NBA thing out of the way. 1971, Supreme Court unanimously overturns Muhammad Ali's draft evasion conviction. 1992, Dream Team plays their first exhibition game, 133-57 against Cuba. Thanks for coming. 95, Joe Smith out of Maryland goes to Golden State. The next 5 picks of the draft: Antonio McDyess, Jerry Stackhouse, Rasheed Wallace, Kevin Garnett, and Bryant Reeves. 2 picks after that, Damon Stoudemire. I mean, the one guy not to take in that situation. You hate to see it. The year 2000, Kenya Martin gets drafted, the only good player in that draft besides Hedo Turkoglu. Awful draft. Andrew Bogut, not a bad player in his own right, but drafted ahead of Andrew Bynum, Danny Granger, CP3, and Darren Williams. So that's not going to get it done. The very next year, 2006, Andrea Bargnani, drafted by the Raptors. After that, Kyle Lowry, Rajon Rondo, Rudy Gay, and LaMarcus Aldridge. So if you're drafted on this day, beware of the first overall pick, guys.
Yeah, I think the toughest one to swallow with that one is, taking like Chris Paul after Bogut. Like Chris Paul and Deron Williams, like 2, generational point guards or whatever.
They were like 7 and 8. They weren't even high in that draft.
All right, Nick Smith bringing up Reggie Jackson. I'm just saying, at this point, what has John Wall played over the last 5 years? He's played like 40 games. I mean, so how much hunger does this guy even have to make a difference at this point?
He's been with the Rockets, man. He needed to get out of the
Before that, he's with the Wizards. He's got to get out of there. What's he got to get?
He's playing with the Clippers now. He's got a Kawhi. He's got Paul George. He can't carry the load anymore, but he can be a role player. So I think that in this role playing, in the role that he'll be playing in, he should be able to make an impact alongside Kawhi and Paul George. I mean, he could be the perfect third piece there. Not the perfect third piece, but he could be a good enough third piece to get them over the hump.
My only point is, at this point in their career, how far off are those 2 guys? Obviously you'd take Wall, but is that not similar?
Remember when we thought Rajon Rondo was all washed up, and then he joined the Lakers and helped them? Arguably he was the 3rd best player on that team to win, and they won a championship. John Wall is only 31 years old. He's still very good defensively.
Very good.
I think he's got something left.
Okay.
I think he's got something left as long as he can stay.
Something left is he like 15-5 this year? Is he like an all-star?
I think 15-5 sounds about right for John Wall. Maybe 15-6.
Whitey and Queens on the YouTube stream. Gotta like that. Who would be the leader on that Clippers team? I mean, that's a tough one because it's a couple guys that are afraid of. I mean, it's not Kawhi, is it? It's not going to be Paul George.
It's Kawhi.
It is, but it's an awkward.
How can you lead when you play 20 games? I mean, I don't know. You can't say nothing and play 20 games a season.
As Kawhi Leonard is. Last time we saw Kawhi Leonard, he was winning a series on a torn ACL. I mean, the man is unbelievable. Kawhi Leonard's very good.
He's by far the best player, but is he the leader?
He sets the tone for that team.
Okay.
Who does? Kawhi?
Kawhi Leonard.
Do you just feel like people are following his lead, though? I mean, I don't know.
He's the adult in the room. He's the adult in the room. He has the ability to hold people accountable, even if he's never loud, even if he's never going to raise a stink about it. You're going to practice harder. You're going to work because Kawhi's on your team, whether he's load managing or not. And when you get in the playoffs.
Let's go back for a minute as well. Joe Smith, did you really think he was that bad? I mean, he was
No. Joe Smith was good. Joe Smith was athletic. Joe Smith was versatile, but you can't draft Joe Smith before Kevin Garnett and Rasheed Wallace, before Bryant Reeves, even though I know his career was shortened.
That's a great question, though, bringing up some of those guys that had shorter careers like McDyess, Bryant Reeves. I mean, McDyess was so good before some of those injuries. He was an MVP candidate like the year before he got injured. He's like 25 and something.
Valuable core member of the Pistons after they won when they were trying to stack more championships. He fell into a great role there with Lindsey Hunter and Derek Coleman, a bunch of guys getting a second chance. I love that Pistons team, even after they won a couple years after. I love that team. I do.
You know what's funny to me is I think Paolo Banchero isn't going to be a good NBA player. So like this whole, this date thing could have some meaning to it.
How many good players were taken in this draft? How many impact players were there? I mean, I'm hearing that there's really not many all-stars.
I think Holmgren. I think obviously the kid who went to the Rockets.
Jabari.
Jabari. Those two, and then Jalen Ivey at the Pistons. I mean, those are the guys. I can't believe the Pistons got him at pick 5. That's a hell of a value.
Yeah, the Pistons made a couple good picks there. I mean, now they have that young backcourt as well. Can anybody ever do anything in Detroit, though? It just feels like that is an absolute wasteland.
You know that they won championships with homegrown talent. I think the only way they're going to win is with homegrown talent, and they're going for it. So I like what they're doing. I mean, not totally homegrown, but they did draft a lot of, Tayshaun, Rip. Did Rip Hamilton get drafted? Where did he play before?
He was with the Wizards with Jordan.
Right. And where was Ben Wallace?
The Magic with Shaq.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, regardless.
Did you guys hear any of the
drafted there either? So I'm going to shut up.
Did you hear any of the DeJounte Murray news where the Spurs? It looks like the Spurs are investigating some trades for him, and I don't really know why. I feel like he is like a great player, and I heard that Atlanta was like looking at making a deal with them, and I don't really get why Atlanta would pair up him and Trae Young.
They desperately want backcourt defense to pair with Trae Young so that they can stop getting blitzed. This is why I would be shopping Marcus Smart to them if I'm the Celtics, because they desperately want a defensive playmaker on their team to pair with Trae Young.
But who will we get?
What will we get back? Like Kevin Huerter and Collins or something?
I would take Reddish. I would take Collins. I'll take a shot on either one.
You would take a shot on Cam Reddish? You like him?
I liked him coming out of college. I have soured on him, but I'm done with Smart in terms of if we're going to go to the next level, it's not going to be with the exact same team we just got there with.
I think when it comes to Smart, he's the guy I look at as our enforcer, the heart of our team. And in the finals, he didn't go hard enough. Like he should have been the one to step up to Draymond and be like, yo, back down,
Or like injure Curry.
Yeah, something. Like Marcus Smart was our guy who had to make some X factor plays. And
I always said clutch. I always said Smart wasn't clutch. He was able to injure Curry in the regular season, but not the playoffs. I figured he'd be cheap in the playoffs as well. No, but I do. How likely do you think it is that they trade Smart or they trade Horford? I mean, I feel like they always bring back these same teams. We keep saying that they need to do something, because all these teams that get there still do something. The Warriors still sign Kevin Durant. The Lakers still bring in guys. So do the Celtics need to make a move? Will they make a move?
Yes,
I say no. I say no.
Yes, they do.
I've seen it happen too much here that they will not make a significant move.
They won't. Unless Bradley Beal's willing to come here for only money, we are not going to make a big move.
You got to get rid of Marcus Smart now, I think, if you're the Celtics. I think it's all downhill from here. Brad's got to be
there's an unhappy customer on Cam Reddish.
Yeah, but I don't want Smart. I don't want Smart, period. He's just...
I don't want Smart either.
I'm sorry. Either the Jays got this or they don't, but I need them to have a different voice in their ear, because clearly they've tuned this guy out largely, and his defense is gone. I know he won Defensive Player of the Year, but that's still not the best defensive player in Marcus Smart that I've seen in his career.
I would take DeJounte Murray over Marcus Smart all day. Not even close.
Oh, God, same. Yeah. It's not even a debate.
They might be able to sell a 3-way trade or something of that, to get DeJounte. I just don't know what else we'd give the Spurs for him. Naismith, maybe 3 first.
It would have been the first that we traded for Derek White, which is what I was saying a couple weeks ago on the show, which is, did that move prevent you from making a different move?
And that's honestly some of the debate, is that people have talked about that. Did they need to make that Derek White move? Do you think that they, when you look back at that, I feel like I would make that move again. I liked what they did to be aggressive, bring in a guy like that. And I think he had a pretty positive. I mean, I think there's some redundancy there with Smart, but you'll take that. Obviously, we've talked about Smart as a trade piece. So I liked that move, I got to admit.
I would make that move again because I would trade Marcus Smart. So I would have just got my replacement for Marcus Smart and then traded Marcus Smart for something else. I would not have done both. I would not have kept them both on my roster moving forward.
Well, this is great. We have people talking to each other here across this. So we talk about Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks for a huge. I mean, they can't seem to make any decent free agent splashes. Where did Kemba end up now? Did he get bought out by the Clippers or?
I do not know where Kemba Walker went because he is cashed.
Yeah,
he's not really worth keeping track of.
Yeah,
loves Kemba, great guy.
But the Knicks can just never spend their money well, right? Like they finally got in a decent position. Justin says Kemba's playing in the WNBA right now. Yeah, he can take Brittany Griner's spot while she's overseas.
No, he can't. She is like 6 inches taller than him.
True. Yeah, she'd probably work him over right now, I'm sure. She's been playing prison basketball.
Yeah.
So let's see. Any other trades or anything like that we want to talk about? Let's see.
What would you rather see, Luka and Durant or Lillard and Durant?
Lillard and Durant, just because Dame is there. It's not about. I just want to see Dame win a championship. I think
I'd rather see Luka and Durant.
I would much rather see those. I think that would be really dynamic. I would love to see Durant go to the. I would love to see him go to the Mavs, and I think that would be ridiculous. You bring in a third option to that team, they're never going to be guarded. You're going to have 2 guys on Luka, 2 guys on Durant. Like if you could get a third option in there,
do you know who it would be? Well, it'd be Gobert because that's the only thing that they. But that's the only thing they have enough assets to do in one offseason. Because the Jazz desperately want to move him, and you'd have to pay through the nose for Durant, even though he's got 1 year left. But I think if they want to make it happen, Cuban could make it happen.
Speaking of the Jazz, they just signed the Celtics coach, like the Celtics bench. It was like Will Grimes or something. He was on our team last year. He's only 34. They just signed him to like a 5-year deal. It's crazy.
Well, that's Danny. That's Danny over there, just sticking it to us.
So I mean, we're talking about kind of like guys staying, going. We talked about Kyrie. Zach LaVine, is he going to stay in Chicago with the Bulls? You got to like the nice little team that they've put together over there, but you kind of just feel like something is missing. Is that team going to stay together? Do you think LaVine is looking to go to a brighter spot? I could see LaVine moving on, to be honest. I could see him saying that he wants a brighter spotlight. I could see. I would probably go with LaVine is probably going to leave. What do you guys think? Does he stay around? Does that team have anything?
I would leave if I was LaVine. I would get out. I mean, go be the second option somewhere. I think he's good enough to potentially be the go down to you don't think he's good enough to be the second option with Luka? No.
Absolutely not with Luka. Luka needs shooters around him. He can play with a dummy big man, but he needs shooters around him outside of that at the other positions.
LaVine can shoot though.
Not well enough.
No, LaVine can shoot. I'm going with Tordai here. LaVine can shoot better than you think.
I look at his percentages.
I feel like people, because he's a dunker, they don't want to think that he can't. I mean, I would say he's a good shooter.
He's developed his shot, and on the teams he's been on the last couple of years, he's had a good percentage, but there's been low expectations. If he's such a big deal,
he shot 39% from 3, dude.
Yeah, 37 is not unbelievable. But my point is,
I said 39, which
39
is fantastic.
Heard.
Very, very good.
That'll stop. 39 will stop you in your tracks on that.
Yeah.
No, but my point that I was getting to was still he's going to go to a situation with more expectations, and he's going to have, if he's the second option, going to have less around him and more defensive focus on him. And I'm not sure that he's going to maintain 39%.
Yeah. Russell says that Boston was better without Kemba. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely. I think there were some other things that freed us up too. Who was the other point guard that the Celtics had? That they got rid of in the middle of the year this year. Schroeder. Honestly, getting rid of him opened up a lot of things in the offense too. I feel like they were really able to like bring out Robert Williams' game. But yeah, they were definitely better without Kemba Walker for sure. I think anybody is going to be better without Kemba Walker at this point. I mean, honestly, I think Kemba Walker carved out a hell of a career for himself. When he was in college, I thought the best he'd be is like a 15 points off the bench. I didn't really think that he was going to be like a 25-point-a-game guy.
Another example of a guy wasting his prime on a really bad team.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's see. Why don't we move on to the NFL? And we've got playoff teams that we're talking about. Will they be back? And also talking about dark horses. So when it comes to some of the playoff teams, are there any major teams? Obviously we could go by team, but are there major teams that you guys that were good last year that you see taking a step back this year?
I think that we're going to see the Steelers take a step back. I think we're going to see the Titans take a step back. And I might get some flack for this, but I think there's a chance we even see the Patriots take a step back. Their division's getting stronger. They might not be able to run through it the way they have in the past. I like the moves the Dolphins have made. I like the moves that the Jets have made. And the Bills are a powerhouse. I think those are the three teams that I would say are at risk of falling out of the playoffs in the AFC. And in the NFC, I'd say the 49ers, obviously, with Trey Lance at the helm. While I do think his potential is far beyond that of Jimmy Garoppolo's, he is going to be a first-year starter. And we do need to potentially cut him a little slack there. I think that the Eagles should be better. I think that the Cowboys could definitely take a step back as well. And I think the rest of the NFC playoffs should stay the same. The Packers obviously don't have Devontae Adams, so we'll see how that works out. But, yeah, that's kind of where my head's at. I don't know if you guys have anything that you would say differently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm just taking the cheese, but I honestly like what the Raiders are doing as far as like a team that's going to kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, obviously they were a playoff team last year, but they're a playoff team without really any expectation. I just like what they're doing where they're kind of going for broke. You've got to spend money on these receivers. You've got to get in good talent, and they're in a tough division. But I just think they're an exciting team to watch. I mean, like, how much would you want that team to be on Hard Knocks or something like that? I just feel like that's an interesting team too, just because here in New England, we're going to be comparing McDaniels all season as well. Looking at what he did, he's kind of bringing in a lot of smart people and allowing people to do their jobs, where Belichick is kind of taking like a more hands-on approach and doing everything. So we're going to be looking at these two teams going back and forth. And, I just think it's going to be interesting too. Devontae Adams and Carr, they played in college. Like there should be some pretty good chemistry there. And, they're both in their prime.
I think they're the fourth best team in that division, sadly. And I think they're very good. I've always been higher on Derek Carr than most people. But, I mean, the Chiefs they're better. And then it's debatable between the next three teams. But I think the Raiders very well may be the fourth amongst that bunch. I think I'm not sure if it's possible, but with all the new wild cards in the extra game, I hope we can get four teams from the same division, because I think they're probably four of the top six best teams in the AFC. I do.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough division. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that division play.
It's probably the best division of our lifetime in terms of just having four good quarterbacks.
I'm sure Russell Wilson's thrilled that thrilled about the talent in that division. It's just like, he goes to that division. You've got, it's like, that's tough to come over. And do you guys think that the Broncos are going to be a player right away? Some people think that it was just going to be like turnkey, that you put in Russell Wilson, they start winning right away. Frank, what are you giving me that for?
I have them. I did my playoff seedings, what I think right now, and I had Denver fourth in the AFC.
I mean, I like what Denver has offensively. I do. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon's back. Tight end, they've got Albert O, and they drafted Greg Dulcich to be the backup. They've got Cortland Sutton. How much better is DK Metcalf than a Cortland Sutton when Cortland Sutton's healthy? That's a question you got to ask yourself, because I don't think they're different players, but I don't think DK Metcalf is that much better than Cortland
He's
Sutton.
not.
I agree with that.
Jerry Jeudy, who's got, I think, a very high ceiling.
And
you've
Hamler.
got KJ Hamler, and you've got Tim Patrick as well. So there's some weapons there for Russ.
Seriously, Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick are like their worst wideouts, and those guys can like get 1,000 yards. I mean, so there's
KJ Hamler and Tim are their worst wideouts, but
and that's a small price to pay, getting like Noah Fant out of there and getting to keep like all your other weapons, basically.
Yeah. They just drafted a new young tight end. They're like, all right, cool.
Yeah, they're like, okay.
Alberto looks great out there. When Alberto plays, he looks good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, I think don't they have some questions defensively though?
Lots.
That's where I think that they're gonna be in trouble. But hey, we'll see where that goes.
In that division, though, it doesn't matter that they have a bad defense because everybody's going to be scoring 38 to 45 points.
Right.
And so, guys, obviously we're probably going to have to talk about it. Deshaun Watson for the week. I really don't want to talk about that. I'd rather focus more on. They talked to Baker Mayfield, and he said that both sides really have moved on. So I'm curious to know, there's going to be no way in hell that Watson is going to start this season. I mean, let's just call it how it is. They suspended Roethlisberger for 6 games, and they're going to try to make an example of Watson. With that being the case, and with what's happened with Mayfield, do you think that they will play Mayfield? Do you think that's broken? What is going to be their remedy to the starting quarterback position for the first game of the season?
It's not my money.
Are they going to have to go kiss Baker's butt?
Go ahead, Alex.
No, I just you go first, Frank. You go.
If I'm the Browns and it's not my money, first of all, I'm not trading Baker anywhere unless I actually get a return. Because Deshaun Watson, I've already shot myself in the foot. This man is not going to play for my team anytime soon. So I'm going to keep Baker as long as I can. I'd franchise the man. If I'm Cleveland, I'm never going back to no quarterback. Baker may not be great, but there's going to be places in the contract where I don't have to pay Deshaun nearly as much as that contract is worth. And I'm going to make Baker play for my team. If I'm Cleveland, I've had it.
Oh, God. Could you imagine if they franchise tag Baker Mayfield? Cleveland is the most inept organization in all of sports. And I say that after having done business with them. I sold them an intranet solution about a year ago. And that solution is a year and a half ago at an old company. And that solution is still not up because they are such a mess in the front office and internally on the business side of things. They just cannot do anything right. And they just gave
away paid out on it at least?
Round picks. I did. They just gave away 3 first-round picks, a second rounder, a third rounder for a player who's not going to play. Does anyone realize how insane that is? It's one of the most embarrassing trades of all time. Nick Caserio should get GM of the year for that trade alone.
Dude, honestly,
because the Texans,
I wanted to keep him.
Honestly, when I first saw the news that it was a fully guaranteed deal to Watson, I thought that was a joke. Like, it's like only the Browns would take this guy that's got a million question marks. I mean, sure, he's young and all that, but it's like to say that they did their due diligence and then to have the NFL go back into here and now they're looking at a lawsuit against the team. So it's really incredible that just he's got to have the best agent ever. How do you get him to sign? It's not only give all those pieces, but then they're like, we'll take the guy that's got the most risk ever to play. And we'll just guarantee him 5 years.
The Browns are idiots. Baker played injured. He played hurt. He fought. He's been the best quarterback you've had in what? Ever? Maybe? I can't remember a better quarterback playing for the Browns.
Derek Anderson? That Pro Bowl season back in 2004?
Overall, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. They deserve every bit of pain that they're going to get, and they're trying to get picks back on the back end for Baker now. That like everyone's like, screw you, Cleveland. Like they're not trying to give them the picks they want for Baker.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So it's just a crazy situation.
It is. I wonder how they'll get out of there. I mean, I would absolutely love it if they had to have another quarterback start games, or if they spent another dollar on the quarterback position. You know, with Frank is saying he would double down on Mayfield, I think it's the perfect opportunity to just like know that you need to cut back. I would rather have a kid that you took in the 4th round come in than to keep trying it over and over with Baker Mayfield. I think he's shown you enough proof. All these quarterbacks, we look at them, whether they're good or not, through 50 games, they've shown us something. What has Baker Mayfield shown you through 50 games or whatever? Like, I just feel like he's shown you maybe he could be better if he was, maybe if he was more physically gifted or all this, but I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I think you have enough data to make that decision rather than keep paying $20 million for him, Frank.
Is Baker Mayfield better than Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
Yes.
So I would pay him $25 million a year because that's probably what Tannehill makes, and he's better than Tannehill.
Would you pay Tannehill $25 million though?
I wouldn't pay Tannehill more than $15 million, but I'm not an NFL team.
I had him in fantasy last year. I can tell you he is the absolute worst. I was like trying to come up with all the reasons why he would be good. Oh, I will never touch that. That guy sucks.
He's not making it through this season as the starter. There's no.
He is dependent.
The Titans are gonna they're gonna stay competitive through this though. Like they're gonna make a change, and
they were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year.
That's just I think Vrabel is such a good coach.
They shouldn't have got rid of Brown. I mean, they should have paid the man. They're so dumb. You were going to draft a quarterback.
You could tell that that Vrabel was pissed when they couldn't sign him.
It just makes no sense. You're going to draft a quarterback anyway. Let's trade.
I would have just traded away Tannehill, said we're rolling with the rookie, kept AJ Brown, and kept the train moving. That was a terrible roster decision.
It's like when you draft a receiver, all you hope is that it could be an AJ Brown. The guy's like 24. He's physical. He
looks like T.O.
Yes.
I like AJ Brown a lot.
Do you think that'll make a difference for Jalen Hurts this year? I mean, it seems like they're trying to give him a weapon to see whether or not he can be the guy. I kind of like Jalen Hurts. I feel like he's developed over the past couple of years. I don't know if he's a franchise guy, but I feel like he's done enough to deserve this shot that he's getting this year. And I think it's going to be interesting to put in A.J. Brown there. I mean, because look how dynamic. They were scoring like 35 points a game last year, and without even that many dynamic pieces, their offense was scoring. So they could put up some points.
I'm excited for the Eagles this year. I think that they've actually retooled their roster very nicely. A.J. Brown might have been the missing piece. He really might have been. I mean, not to win a Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that it was one of the missing pieces they have, and we should see them potentially lead their division this year.
With Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, they have cornerstone receivers for whoever they get in there after Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, to me, is a great fantasy quarterback, is a great gadget. He's just not a real quarterback to me. And yes, he's going to score points because when defenses don't actually have a game plan, he's going to run on third down and they're going to get in field goal range and they're going to have people sneak by. But no, he's not an elite quarterback to me. And I think when you get a real quarterback to throw into Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, that's going to be formidable.
See, I don't think he's like an elite quarterback or anything like this. And I was not high on him throwing the ball when he came into the league. But would you say he made like a decent leap from where he was his rookie year to sophomore year, just throwing the ball? Like, I felt like he could not pass his first year. And
I think he just got better playmakers around him. Devontae Smith is no small thing. Okay. I'd have to go look, but I bet he had Miles Sanders more games.
Trust me, I'm not making a case to like hang on to him as the franchise guy, but I'm just like happier with the development that he made than I thought he might, you know. And so we're talking about stud receivers. Terry McLaurin just signed a contract actually with the Commanders. Haven't had a lot of practice saying that one. That's still one of the ones where you're thinking every time where you like mention them, you're like, do I say Washington? Do I say Commanders? So a 3-year, $77 million deal that was obviously well overdue. I think McLaurin is a stud, and he's done a lot without a consistent quarterback there. It doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. he's always getting catches. And I just feel like the league is showing us that you've got to spend like $28 million a year to get these guys. It's insane. But, Tyreek, Devontae, Terry McLaurin.
Something's got to give with these wide receiver contracts because I do not think they're that valuable. I look at the Patriots and I say, all right, well, if we have a great quarterback, we built championship teams out of ragtag wide receivers.
But that time's over. That time is over.
So?
Because I used to always ask, says Michael Irving, when is the last elite receiver to win a Super Bowl? Because that argument was in my favor. But with Tyreek, with, if Emmanuel Sanders would have won that Super Bowl, Mike Evans, it's just, it's different. Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp. I mean, I just think that Jamar Chase, I just think that that's different now. I just think that argument has been in our favor for about 25 years, and it's over now.
Because running backs appreciate. Well, it makes you appreciate Brady's greatness that much more because a lot of the teams that he was beating had elite wide receivers, and he did. And then when he had Randy Moss, somehow he lost. So just doesn't compute in my mind, but that's sometimes.
I think we are only going to appreciate Brady's greatness more as every passing day goes, and you just see that. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, is there going to be anybody throwing 40 touchdowns at age 40 again? I mean, like, how long is it going to take for that to happen again?
I don't know. Look at Arch Manning. Arch Manning probably played about 18 years as long as he doesn't scramble. I mean, I think Russell Wilson has a chance. I think Russell Wilson has a chance to throw for just under 5,000 yards for a long time. I think Russell Wilson has the opportunity to stay healthy. He's got that baseball craftiness thing. He's thick even though he's short. I think Russ has a chance because it's a passing league to set a bunch of records. And for the record, I think Russ has become overrated, but I think he'll stay healthy long enough.
That's funny because he's mentioned a lot that he wants to play like another 10, 12 years or something. Like, even though he's like this far into his career, it seems like and I think with like how thick he is, like sometimes you look at those smaller guys and you're like, they won't hold up. But for some reason you feel like Russell Wilson with like kind of what you're saying, his athleticism, the way he's built, like he probably will hold up. I mean, he's been pretty healthy outside of last season, really. I still don't think he's going to touch anything that Brady did, though.
I think the numbers are going to start going up. We're going to start seeing a couple 5,000 passers a year. We're going to start seeing, you know what I mean? It's the extra game, too. Don't forget. You're going to start seeing that accumulating over the course of people's careers.
How far away are we from a 6,000-yard passer?
Huh?
How far away are we from a 6,000-yard passer?
I don't know. That seems like a lot to me. Even with the new rules, that seems like probably where that limit's going to be.
Someone will do it. It's going to happen. It's going to be spectacular.
Dude, because, 5,000 was so unheard of like 20 years ago. You could have never.
The record? 5,500?
It's something like that, yeah.
Deshaun Watson's team plans to argue for a 0-game suspension.
They have to avoid it, right?
They're going in with confidence as their strategy.
You have to eat the loss of draft picks and void because they have that void in there where once he gets suspended, they could void the guarantees and just get out from the deal scot-free.
Yeah,
they
but
have
you
to
lose all the draft picks. You lose all the draft picks. So
they're losing them regardless. This dude will not play for you. It is bad for your team. Just admit that you were the Browns.
For a year, he's still got 8 quality years left after this one, probably.
Not if they void it. It's the only way that after they accept this year, there is no more voids. You guarantee that man $280 million. This is your chance. This is the chance.
$280 million to a sexual predator.
You know what I mean? You have to void it. You got to take the one chance.
Yeah, if I'm a mom, I'm really gonna want my kid in a Deshaun Watson jersey.
Well, they're the Browns.
Oh.
Guys, should we go through the schedule?
For the Patriots?
Yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'd like that.
We going wins and losses?
Yeah, let's see what we've got. We'll tally it up. So the first game, September 11th, Patriots, Dolphins.
Loss.
Win.
Give me a dub.
I think the Dolphins need a little time to gel. We'll see.
Um,
I
Now
thought we
we-
were going to be bad.
then we've got Patriots and Steelers.
Loss.
When
Trying to figure out who's home and who's away.
when Kenny Pickett he's early.
Kenny Pickett will not be starting. It'll be the man, the myth, the legend, Mitchell Trubisky.
If Trubisky's starting, it's a loss. We're gonna lose.
Mitchell Trubisky has a good track record against us, and he made us look like clowns with that rush in Chicago.
All right.
All right, so I think I might want to amend the. I think I might want to do a loss against the Dolphins if we can.
Okay.
I'm already regretting.
Let's rapid fire. Let's get through this.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to pull up one that says like where they're at. Of course, navigating this poorly. So the one is the Dolphins is at the Dolphins, then it's at the Steelers, then Baltimore comes to Gillette. I'm gonna go with a loss there.
Loss.
Okay. Then they go to Green Bay.
Win.
Loss.
I'll take the loss there. So what we have them at 3-1 through 4 games. Then the Lions come in.
Win.
Win.
And I give that a win too. Then they go at Cleveland.
Depends. If Deshaun Watson's playing, we are going to lose. But the odds of him playing are very, very tiny.
A Jacoby Brissett revenge game has a nice ring to it, though, doesn't it?
I kind of like the Browns.
Nick
I'm
Chubb.
gonna go with a win for the Patriots after further.
I might go Browns.
All right, so we have them 4-2 through 6. Then the Bears come to Gillette.
We're gonna win that.
Probably a win.
We'll win that. Then we go to the Jets.
Win.
Loss.
Yeah, I'm taking the loss there. 6-2 through 8. Then it's the Colts in Foxborough.
Loss.
Loss.
Yeah, I'll take the loss as well.
Matt Ryan revenge game.
7-2. Oh, sorry, we have them 7-3.
Okay.
Then it's the Jets and
Win.
Foxborough.
We're going to beat the Jets
Win.
both times.
Win.
Yep, let's do a win. So, guys, we have this team at 8-3 through 11 games. That feels. They do have a cake schedule. Can we at least say that they have
It's not
a cake
bad.
schedule? So then they go to Minnesota. I'll take a loss there.
You lost.
Loss.
Guys,
I'll go
guys,
loss.
You guys think they're going to be a lot better this year than I seem to think they're going to be.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't think this team is probably going to be much better than 500 realistically, but we have them at 8-4 through the first 12. So then the Bills come in.
Loss.
Yeah, let's do a loss there.
So now we're at 8-5, right?
8-5. So then we go to Arizona.
Loss.
Win.
Loss.
Okay.
I'll do the loss. So they go to 8-6. Then it's at the Vegas Raiders.
Loss.
So they go to 8-7. Okay, so this team starts 8-3 and goes to 8-7. It's just like last year and the year before. There's always a skidding losing streak to end the season. Perfect. So then the Bengals come into Gillette.
Loss.
This is the last game of the year.
No, there's 2 more.
All right, let's go. Loss. Yeah.
All right, so we have them going 8-8. Well, I guess. Oh God. And then so I guess then at the Bills we have a lot. So we have what? So yeah, we'd have
Did you miss
Miami, and then at the Bills. So basically, we're thinking 9-8.
Yeah, something like that.
9-8.
Sounds about right.
Guys, we're going to win 7 games, mark my words.
I honestly think that's probably more in line with what they will do. There will probably be some of these teams that'll. I feel like they don't have the. I mean, I want to believe in this. I can't. I feel like they have not done what they need to do around Mac Jones.
Don't believe in them.
No,
Our
I
whole
don't.
team revolves around Mac Jones, who is just a guy.
Yeah, he's just a normal quarterback.
God, I feel I feel sane with you guys. You know, I try to have this conversation with other people. People love Mac Jones so much, and I think he's like good for this system, but he's not good enough to like put the team on his back. Or
Is Mac Jones going to have a better career than Justin Fields?
I would say that the trajectory for Justin Fields is higher. I was encouraged with how he played, you know, in the second half of last year.
I think he's better. I
Like,
just don't think the ceiling for Mac Jones is that
if
high.
the Pats right now could trade Mac Jones for Justin Fields, I would do that. You know, let's put it that way.
Wow. That's saying a lot. I mean, I do like Fields' potential. I think it's higher than Jones.
I just think Fields with Belichick, I don't know. I always like the thought of that. You know, like, think about if you could have done that trade like 2 years ago, you would have done that in a heartbeat. You know, and so now you've done it. They both had different landing spots. If you had Fields with Belichick last year, I'm sure he would be looking better at this point.
We would have got an extra year of Cam Newton, though. So, you know, as a consumer,
everybody wins.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to baseball a little bit. So the Red Sox, they go prior to last night, they went 19-4 over their last 23. Great news, right, guys? Well, incredibly, they only gain a half game against the Yankees, and the Yankees, who are really having like a historic season. I mean, they're on a torrid pace, and Judge, you know, on pace for 62 homers, 90 extra base hits. You know, nobody's done that since Juice was around. So I do really like what the Red Sox are doing. For people who haven't paid attention, they got out to a 10-19 start, one of their worst starts ever. But they've played a lot of tomato cans over the past couple of weeks. But it seems like they are doing some things to right the ship. Their starting pitching is a lot better than I think anyone would have thought. You're looking at getting Chris Sale back. Xander Bogaerts is healthy, and Rafael Devers is certainly an MVP candidate. So while we don't sit in a great spot, I think we're like third in the AL right now or something, and you know, on top of the wild card. So I got to say, for the start that they had, and I thought they weren't going to have a season after a month. You know, at least we have some baseball. So what do you guys think about the Sox and like how they need to keep this pace going forward? What are some of your keys as we go on here, Frank?
So one thing about the Yankees, they're on pace for 110 wins. So not only is Aaron Judge the runaway MVP, they might catch the Mariners and us, which are two of the best baseball teams of our lifetime. What the Red Sox need to do is maintain their stability in the bullpen. They're awful in the 8th inning. They're awful in the 9th inning. They need Sale to come back. They need to get another starter. We need Whitlock to be a reliever. He is so much more dangerous and useful for our team as a middle reliever, a late inning guy that he is as a starter. What makes him special and valuable to our team gets minimized when you ask him to go 6 innings. We need first base to give us something, just friggin' something, defensively or offensively.
There is no excuse for a big market team like the Sox to not be able to get a first baseman. Shouldn't be getting a first baseman be like one of the easiest things to do? You just freaking. And I mean, they let guys like Schwarber go. Like Schwarber has 22 home runs or something like that. He's almost leading the NL. I don't get how they don't have a first baseman. They've had like an absolute glaring hole there for the last couple of years. And Dahlbeck is like, I don't know. I can't take that kid anymore. I just feel like it's kind of inexcusable for a team like the Sox, do all the stuff you want to do, pretend that you're Tampa Bay all day long, but you can also sign some people too to get a job well done also. So you don't have to home grow everybody for pennies on the dollar. Now, Frank, I liked where you were going with they need to, so they have they pretty much have like last in the majors ERA. You were talking about it in the 8th and 9th inning. With that being said, with Sale coming back, and yes, I agree that Locke should be coming out of the pen, but it seems like the Sox are, dedicated towards trying to make him a starter for some reason that I don't understand. Would you put Sale in the bullpen? He recently said that he would, do whatever he had to do for the.
I wouldn't, because he's got no gas.
He's throwing 6 now, Frankie.
At this point in his
that arm's the healthiest it's been in 5 years.
Look, if he can maintain that 5, but as a frail man who's always fared worse 7-8 months into the season, I want him to give me 2 times through the lineup for about 3 months once healthy, if we are going to be a playoff team. But guys, you mentioned the tomato cans. We're 4-10 against the 3 teams in our division that are going to make the playoffs. And we lost last night, and what was a scheduled loss? I mean, just they were out there with rackets. Vlad Guerrero and George Springer.
Yeah, I mean, they have been god-awful in the division, and that's a good question to ask, too. Is that going to bite them in the butt at some point? I mean, they have been putrid. Again, even the Orioles. I mean,
0-3 against Gosman.
They can't get a win against the Orioles. So it's every year, no matter how bad the Orioles are, and they're always awful, they always play well against the Red Sox. It's incredible.
Red Sox play down to their competition, so it's no surprise at all.
Yeah. You got to love the fact that they never made the offer to, they're $100 million apart on Devers, apparently, the last time we heard.
Pay the man. The fact that you haven't paid Devers and Bogarts is embarrassing for the organization. This is what you ask for. You draft these guys, you bring them up through your system, they perform at MVP or near MVP level, and then you don't pay them. You're the Boston Red Sox. This Chaim Bloom administration, I think he's actually won a lot of deals that I wouldn't have made. So I think the analytics has worked and has benefited the team. Stop operating like the Rays sometimes. You are the Red Sox.
I just don't get it. It's like, to your point, he does make some of these good things. He wins some of these small deals. He's pulled he roll over a couple of these team guys with some of the, exactly, with Pivetta. But it's like, you could also see in some positions that like you've got the money to spend if you can't do that. Like you could spend the money on the bullpen. We all knew that the bullpen was a glaring area of need coming into the season, and they do nothing to address it. And it's like,
so you guys would say that the Red Sox aren't the closest team to a championship in Boston?
That's the Celtics, and the Celtics are miles away. So Boston better hold tight. We're running out of time. Can we go into Shohei? Because I do, before we leave, need to get off my chest that what is happening to baseball is a disservice. What is happening to Shohei Ohtani is a travesty. Like, Mike Trout has been unbelievable, but at least he's boring. Shohei Ohtani is the best thing we've seen in baseball in years. Babe Ruth went from being an elite pitcher to one of the best hitters of all time. This man is taking the ball every 5th day and smacking. He's on pace for 40 homers. He's having a year that rivals only his own last year. He's going to be a perennial MVP contender, and nobody cares. He's not even a top 10 most popular athlete in LA.
We realize that
team has 2 MVP candidates, and they're under 500. It's insane. It's embarrassing.
We realize he chose to go there. It's not.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. But
he brought it on himself.
But for baseball, you've got to save the man from himself. And that was largely because he wanted to be on the East Coast so he can go back home. So force him to the Dodgers. Be as corrupt as the NBA is. Get that man out of Anaheim now. Get him out.
Can they do anything to do that? I mean, I feel like they need to.
Officially, no, but unofficially, I'm sure. These leagues are all corrupt. Get that man out now with a crowbar. He's got to go. Get him to the Dodgers. Can you imagine just the excitement of Valentine's Day? What was it, 2004? the A-Rod. I mean, he was leaving hotels. There was paparazzi everywhere. Just the Red Sox, Yankees bidding on him was exciting for baseball. Can you imagine the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox right now bidding on this man? He's good for baseball, and baseball's dying. The idea that they're not trying to market their game around him is stunning. Stunning. In all the 4 major leagues in North America, they lack self-awareness the most.
Well, there you have it, folks. Straight from Frank Bradica. The MLB has no self-awareness. Well, hey, we appreciate everybody for hanging with us. We'll be back same time, same place next week, and we'll catch you then. Take care.